PDC function will allow the Postal Service to standardize operations across regions and provide specific management focus on local letter and flat operations. But what I should add is, and package operations. The concept leverages the existing investment in people, equipment, and buildings while allowing a transformation in the regional mail flow that captures significant operational and logistics savings. It is anticipated that LPCs, once modernized, will maintain the following destinating operations once converted to the LPC. They will process destinating packages. They will process destinating letters and flats. They will process destinating bundles, manual letters and flats, express mail, and of course the business mail entry unit. Additionally, at this point, the business case supports transferring mail processing outgoing operations to the Rochester PNDC. Currently, a majority of mail and packages are destined outside of the Buffalo area to the rest of the world. Our outgoing packages currently are processed at the Rochester LNDC. So now let's talk about how the Postal Service is going to invest up to $17 million to modernize and improve the Buffalo LPC if the review moves forward. First, I'd like to highlight some investments that will be made to the facilities. On the workroom floor, lighting will be upgraded with LEDs. Flooring will be repaired and refinished. Impediments to open process flow will be removed. And dock areas will be significantly rehabilitated. Employee amenities will be refreshed with renovation to restrooms, lockers, and break areas. Parking lots will be repaired and renovated in preparation of both next generation delivery vehicles, or NGDVs, as well as battery electric vehicles, BEVs. Where BEVs will be deployed, we will be upgrading and developing the electrical infrastructure necessary to power the rollout of BEVs into our delivery fleet. The LPC will also be fitted with state-of-the-art sorting equipment that will improve delivery services. New mail and processing equipment investments totaling $9 million will be made to locate one flex rover sorter, one high-speed tray sorter, and 2 single induction parcel sorters into the facility. Overall, we plan to operate the following sorting equipment in this facility, and some of this equipment is currently in the facility. 13 delivery barcode sorters, 1 delivery barcode sorter input-output subsystem, 2 automated flat sorting machines, 4 robotic containerization system machines, 1 high-speed tray sorter, 1 low-cost reject and coding machine, 2 single induction package sorter machines, and again, 1 flex rover. And as noted, 3 of those are new pieces of equipment. The consolidation of plant operations will allow the Buffalo LPC to be co-located with a sorting and delivery center. These new facilities are comprised of repurposed facilities and will provide faster and more reliable mail and package delivery over a greater geographic area. So for those of you who are not postal, that means integrating some of the carrier units, which we currently have 1 in our facility, bringing additional carrier units into the Buffalo PNDC, which at that point, if we move forward, will be an LPC, to allow for the mail that's sorted in Buffalo to be taken right over to that carrier unit without transporting it out of the building until the carrier touches it. SMDCs will be fitted with new package sorting equipment and enable customer service and local commerce opportunities for same-day or next-day delivery. They will also have renovated bathrooms and break rooms for Postal Service employees. In addition, SMDCs will have the infrastructure needed to support the deployment of the Postal Service's new electric delivery trucks and the charging stations needed to power them. Replacing the Postal Service's more than 30-year-old vehicles will allow the organization to significantly reduce carbon emissions, increase safety and reliability, and provide more comfortable delivery vehicles to letter carriers. The SNDC that will be co-located with the Buffalo LPC will have 125 delivery routes that are eligible to be serviced by BEVs. Based on the average deployment numbers at SNDCs, new vehicle investment in BEVs is around $5 million per site. SNDCs will feature evolving USPS self-service tools and technology to give customers added services and new choices in how they ship and receive packages. Secure lobby access, biometric fingerprinting services, smart lockers, mobile app with self-service stations, rapid drop-off stations, and large parcel drums. The Postal Service plans to invest between $25 million and $35 million into the Buffalo LPC for modernization, deferred maintenance, and new vehicle infrastructure. As we prepare the facility to serve as an important contributor to operations in today's economy and far into the future. While we undergo this process, retail and other services currently available will remain unchanged. A local postmark will continue to be available at retail locations in the community. We do not anticipate any changes to residential and business time of delivery. Business mail entry, very good, very good. I'll take it, I'll take it. Business mail entry, post office, station and branch retail services will remain unchanged. Delivery services are expected to remain unchanged in most cases. Establishing the Buffalo facility as a local processing center will provide some cost savings to the Postal Service. We currently estimate savings between $2.5 million and $3.3 million annually once the initiative is completed, if we move forward. I want to be very clear, there will be no career layoffs as part of this initiative. Due to the transfer of outgoing operations, an estimated number of career positions that may be reassigned from Buffalo is 31 credit and 5 management. Due to the offset of staffing needed at the transfer to site, which would be Rochester, we calculate a net decrease of 18 credit and 3 management positions between the facilities involved, if the initiative is approved and implemented. Additionally, all bargaining employee reassignments will be made in accordance with the respective collective bargaining agreements. And if you recall, when I started this, I mentioned they started this in January, this review. The data they pulled was from October. In October, we're right in the throes of hiring for our peak. So these numbers are fluctuating even daily as we attrit employees to retirement or resignations. So the numbers as we see them may not be the same if they decide to move forward. The Postal Service has made a commitment to ensuring there's a clear path for our pre-career employees to obtain full-time positions, as evidenced by our newly negotiated contract provisions and making automatic conversions to stabilize our workforce. This has culminated in 165,798 pre-career employees being converted to career over the past 3 years. Our pre-career workforce is a valuable employee category that provides us necessary operational flexibility, leading to efficiencies. Like all employers who have flexible employee category, there is a high turnover rate with these employees, providing us the opportunity to both capture savings by right-sizing our workforce when making long overdue operational changes and avoiding any career layoffs. So what are our next steps? The findings we have shared here are preliminary findings. No decision has been made yet. And as you heard me say not too long ago, The initial findings, they pulled data from October. So this is a process that is still in flux. As we continue to move through the investment modernization process, we will carefully review and consider all public comments from the local community prior to a final decision. The public will have an additional 15 days after this meeting to submit written comments. Once we have reviewed public comment, we will conclude the facility review and communicate the final decision. We will keep all postal employees, the local community, and additional stakeholders informed of our final decision as soon as it is reached. We will hold stand-up talks for our employees and communicate to the public as appropriate. Once the final decision is reached, we will begin to make the appropriate updates to the Buffalo facility in service of our Delivering for America plan. Before we get into questions, I want to address some of the misinformation and disinformation that has continued to spread about what we are doing here in Buffalo and throughout the country. By laying out the facts, we hope that we can clear up any misconceptions you may have been told before you have an opportunity to ask questions. To start, it is absolute fiction that we are closing this facility and laying off career employees. The fact is that we plan to modernize and invest in the Buffalo.
We need broad answers.
Okay. Can you hear me? All right, let's get this going again. To start, it's absolute fiction that we're closing this facility and laying off career employees. The fact is, we plan to modernize and invest in the Buffalo LPC to ensure it can better serve our customers and employees long into the future. I also want to reiterate again that all career employees will be able to keep their jobs. The next mistruth I want to address is that our network modernization initiative will slow down the mail, and that moving some mail to operations to another facility will slow down local mail that is originating and destined to the Buffalo area. Local mail meaning mail originating and destinating to the safe PNDC, or the mail you put in the While this type of mail would travel first to the Rochester PNDC to be processed before returning to the LPC, it's important to know that local mail has a 2-day service standard, and this mail will continue to be processed and delivered in 2 days. In fact, these changes will make our process more efficient and dependable because most mail does not stay in the local area, but is destined for other regions. Moreover, processing of local mail in packages at the Rochester PNDC allows for the aggregation of mail piece that enables fuller trays after sortation and reduces the overall number of trays being sent to downstream facilities across the country. Higher density trays, containers, and trucks, along with fewer origin hubs, will increase our transportation efficiency and lower our carbon footprint. We know that there is also disinformation surrounding how this process will impact the election day. Here are the facts. This network modernization initiative will result in improved service performance for years to come for our customers, including election officials and voters. We are still in the early implementation stage of our network modernization efforts. The changes will have no bearing on the Postal Service's commitment to fulfilling its role in the electoral process and in delivering timing consistent with our service standards. Finally, it is false that the Postal Service will no longer use a local postmark in Buffalo. We'll still be able to obtain local postmarks at retail. With that, I will turn it back over to Mike.
This concludes our presentation. As part of the review process, we are soliciting public comment, both written and oral, from the local community. Written comments may be submitted at the web link previously provided or by scanning the QR code on the screen. All comments must be received by March 13th. Please bear with us while we hear the microphone issue right now. That way we can all hear you. Written comments may be submitted at the web link previously provided or one. Okay, perfect. Good evening, I'm Philip Gall. I'm the field director for Congressman Nick Langworthy, who represents Western New York in the Southern Tier. The Congressman is presently en route to Washington, D.C. and asked that I attend this meeting to present a letter addressed to the Postmaster General. Dear Postmaster General DeJoy, I am writing on behalf of New York's 23rd District and my constituents in Western New York to express serious concerns with the proposed transfer of mail operations from the Buffalo Processing and Distribution Center, specifically to the Northwest Rochester Processing and Distribution Center. I appreciate the opportunity to have discussed my concerns with representatives of the United States Postal Service during our meeting on January 19th, 2024. However, despite assurances made verbally and in a follow-up letter dated on February 14, 2024, my constituents remain deeply concerned about the potential job losses and service delays that may result from the proposed operational changes. The Buffalo PNDC employs 700 workers, contributing not only to their livelihoods, but also to the economic well-being of our community. While you assured my office that there will be no career employee layoffs and that any workforce changes or moves will be made in accordance with collective bargaining agreements, you also acknowledged that there may be a reduction in overall positions as some operations leave the facility. Specifically, you cannot guarantee the job security of pre-career employees who are currently employed at PNDC. You also could not guarantee that all current employees at the Buffalo PNDC would remain at this location under the proposed operational changes. Any potential disruption in employment threatens the livelihoods of these employees, their ability to provide for their families, and the economic prosperity of communities here in Western New York. Additionally, we are skeptical of the insistence of the USPS that these operational changes will improve on-time delivery rates and reduce delivery times. Timely and reliable mail services are critical for local businesses and residents who depend on efficient postal operations. This proposed shift, where mail sent from and delivered to Buffalo must transit through the Northwest Rochester Processing and Distribution Center, opens the door for a number of potential delays. Combine this roundabout process for delivering local mail with the frequent and extreme weather events encountered in Western New York, and these operational changes could lead to serious delays and difficulty in one-time delivery. Our goal is to work collaboratively and find solutions that protect jobs and ensure the efficient, on-time delivery of mail. In light of concerns voiced by the constituents across Western New York, I therefore request that the USPS reconsider the proposed operational changes to the Buffalo P&DC. Sincerely, Nicholas.
Good evening. My name is Robert Bridenstine, and I'm here under the direction of the great town of West Seneca, which unanimously passed a resolution last evening on behalf of our 40,000 plus residents of the town of West Seneca, urging the United States Postal Service to not move forward with this proposed action. I would like to read into the record our resolution last evening. Whereas the services of the U.S. Postal Service are essential to the operations of businesses and residents of the town of West Seneca, and whereas the William Street facility has long been pivotal to those in the town due to its location, services provided, and extended hours of operation, and whereas that office has employed town residents, and whereas the U.S. Postal Service has now determined that the operation should be terminated or altered in some form, and that Buffalo mail should be transferred 77 miles east to Rochester for processing, only to return to Buffalo without any delays. Whereas such reversal shall increase delays in processing the mail to the detriment of residences and businesses in the town, potentially resulting in additional costs to those residents and businesses, and whereas those costs could impose late fees and other charges and force senior citizens on fixed incomes to make payments when funds have not yet been received. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the town board of the town of West Seneca and its 40,000 residents hereby urges that our federal, state, and other local municipal elected officials take such steps as may be necessary to prevent the proposed move, and be it further resolved that we stand in strong opposition to this action and encourage the postmaster to not take this action. And I will close with these words as expressed in the presentation. May, could anticipate, don't anticipate, could impact, doesn't plan on impacting. Those are strong indications that this plan is way too premature, unnecessary, and not good public policy.
Okay, we will keep our comments for a 2-minute time frame. Thank you.
Well, I have about 2 minutes for you, and kind of a bottom line question. If you have 700 employees that currently work in East Buffalo at the William Street plant, and you are doing a move to consolidate, where you just showed a video where you're even automate more things within the post office itself, what is your 5-year projection for how many employees that will then be at the William Street post office? Is it 500? Is it 600? You have a projected number of how many people that you will then employ within 5 years, 10 years, at that facility. So I think we kind of need to level with the people and say how many jobs at the end of the day will be at the William Street facility. Furthermore, when we say that no jobs will be lost, I am a registered nurse and a member of CWA 1168. At any time when we talk about consolidating facilities, whether it's hospitals or whether it's post offices, that puts the worker in a position to have to bid out based on seniority on their position. So it's not true that every postal worker that works at the William Street office will remain in Buffalo. People have families here, people have commitments here, and instead of talking about we will follow the language of the union contract, cut to the chase and tell the public that people will then have to rebid for their jobs again, and you will keep your position based on seniority, and you may be actually moved out of your position based on this move. We would like to ask our Postal Service to keep the facility in Buffalo. Do not consolidate the services where you're taking services from the second largest city in the state of New York. It makes no sense. You're working backwards. Now, I also want to know, lastly, to wrap this up, I want to know how many executive positions were targeted nationally where you did want to consolidate executive positions by eliminating your executive administrative secretaries and things like that. You didn't do that. When we talk about automation, we always go from the bottom up. We always eliminate the working class, the middle class people first. Level with my community about what's happening here today. We're not having it. We're standing in solidarity. And it's not happening. Our post office is staying where it is.
Hello, good evening. I am Matt Kent. I am a City of Buffalo resident and neighbor and friend to many here. I hope the Postal Service will continue to be a good neighbor and friend and a prosperous employer for the many hundreds of workers and their families who depend on them. What we need to be clear about is what we are discussing today is taking the service out of our public postal service. We heard a lot of fact or fiction presented up on that board, and I'm just going to remind us of a couple of the facts and the fictions we were presented. One, there won't be layoffs. There won't be career employee layoffs. We have many, this is an office space buzzword, pre-career workforce. These are human beings who work and punch the clock just like the rest of us, who are taxpayers, family-supporting residents here in Buffalo, New York, whose livelihoods are in jeopardy, and we need it and we owe it to them not to pretend that there's not going to be cuts when cuts are being proposed. And if we're going to discuss that whether or not we are slowing the mail, we must remember this is not the first step along the way. We have cut mail service standards many times over. Does anyone remember overnight mail service? Oh, yeah. But don't worry, we will get the mail to you in a 2-day standard from this side of the street to that side of the street, and it probably won't even be sent to Rochester. Probably. Maybe. And certainly, the election mail won't be impacted. Take the nicely written language from USPS HQ. Certainly don't just Google the phrase election mail and see if the top news stories are 1 day ago, following USPS failures, Richmond General Register discourages mail-in voting. 3 days ago, the Houston Chronicle, USPS mail. Folks, I would hate to be a delay. USPS mail delays are a concern for election officials in Houston area. Let us remember that we are not even 3 years out from a direly necessary mail-in election amidst a global pandemic where 1 million
In
Americans
respect
died.
to the other attendees, we are limiting.
I do
comments to
respect
2
you,
minutes.
attendees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Stay strong. Stay strong.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jamie. I live in the town of Tonawanda. I realize that the post office is not the best right now, but it sure works better than our current Congress at this point. But it's better than what we've had in the past. I rely on the post office. If we want to save money, get rid of Louis DeJoy. You people may not be aware of this, but in 2021, he made over $305,000 a year, the most paid postal master in history. The federal government gave him a $170,000 bonus for doing what he's doing right now. I don't know if you're aware of this. He used to own a company called XP, I think it was XP Logistics, which has a contract with the U.S. Post Office. To me, that sounds like a conflict of interest. It seems to me that he wants to close a lot of the post office and take the current work that we're doing now.
Oh, yeah.
Not only that, but he was nice enough to give $1.2 million to the last administration, which bought him his position. It's online. It's public information. I'm not making this up. And then he has the goal to turn around and remove mailboxes from neighborhoods. And then turn around and remove equipment that you and I paid for and put them out in a parking lot so they can rust. That's sorting equipment. That's a dereliction of duties in my mind. Okay? And we all pay for that. I'm a former government employee in the banking system, and I've seen a lot of slow work being done whenever we've had to move something. I don't understand why we just cannot update the current system that we have right now and keep the current employees at their facility.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Hi, my name is Al Raklowski, and I represent 200 of the men and women at 1200 William Street as a mail handler. I just want to thank everybody for showing up today and showing up that Buffalo will not take this lying down. I also want to touch on a few things that were said in the recent MPFR. One of them had to do with cancellations. It says that a local postmark will be available. Well, that's pretty much not true for everybody that mails with the service. 200,000 pieces a day go through there, and most of us drop it in a collection box. Unless you physically go to the window, that mail will be canceled in Rochester. Am I wrong on this?
You're not wrong.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So I'm not sure if we're taking questions today. Also, when they talk about layoffs, I've represented the last year people that have been laid off before Christmas. These people took jobs at the post office who were looking for a career. Anybody in the last 2 years are not safe. So it is a little disingenuous to talk about career layoffs, non-career. Everybody came to 1200 William for a career. And I just want the public to know this. And like I said, I'm not going to take up any more time because I know there's many people speaking. But I just want to thank everybody for showing up and letting everybody here know that Buffalo will not take this. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kathy Bridge. I'm a retired postal worker, and I just want to say I still mail all my bills through the mail. But now, when I get my bills, I used to have to write the date down that I had to mail them by. Now when I get them, I have to mail them the next day, because by the time I get them and the time I mail them, they're due. So now, if they're going to Rochester, the post office is almost forcing me to pay all my bills online. So if you're putting all this money into the new equipment, what good is it going to do if you're forcing us to pay all our bills online? So is that your plan all along?
Frank Messateris, APW President here in Buffalo. For those of you who haven't seen the actual report, it was dated January 30th, 2024. Initial findings report, Buffalo, PNDC, facility review. And it's loaded, as the previous speaker used the word disingenuous. It's loaded with a number of disingenuous words, words that are designed to mislead you. It has a number of weasel words. Words designed to allow someone to slip out of it later. And don't take my word for it, but if we had the time, I'd go line by line and we would see. Paragraph 3, for example, page 1, delivery services will be unaffected throughout this review. Delivery services, for all customers here, delivery services throughout the review. Well, this review is almost done. This is a step. There's one more step after this, the final review. So after the review, delivery services unaffected is out the window. Another weasel word situation. Page 2, paragraph 3. The business case. I emphasize the word business. Business case. Not service case, business case. The business case supports transferring mail processing outgoing operations to Rochester. The business case. Doesn't say anything about your service. Currently, a majority of the mail and packages is destined outside of the Buffalo area to end the rest of the world. Again, the disingenuous language. This plan does not call for us keeping our advanced facer cancelers here in Buffalo. If you look at the 9 sites that have already had their final reports, all have lost every one of their advanced facer cancelers. Advanced facer cancelers are important because when mail is collected in mailboxes over the window, it goes into the plant to the advanced facer canceller where it gets a cancellation. But more importantly, it is segregated. And what's important for you to understand, it's segregated down to a breakdown of 140 zip codes beginning in 140, 141, 142, 143, and 147. That's a big area. And when it's broken down, it then goes to another machine for 5-digit breakdown to a zip code, a 5-digit zip code, and then it goes to another machine and goes through a process to a carrier walk sequencing, the way a carrier carries their mail on their route. Well, with no advanced facer cancelers, which are taken off the list, now that mail will go to Rochester to be canceled. So instead of coming in facer cancelers, it'll go to Rochester to run on that advanced facer canceller system, shipped to Rochester, and then driven back to be processed on additional machines in Buffalo. Now, look at the numbers. You take any 2-week period on the advanced facer canceller. Take it at random. We just picked a random one today. 1.6 million pieces went through the advanced facer canceller during that 6-day period. That's mail that was picked up, collection boxes in our area, and at the stations. 1.6 million pieces. 1.1 million of those pieces go back into the community to zip codes 140, 141, 142, 143, and 147. But under this plan, that mail will now go to Rochester first for processing, then come back. That 1.1 million, I will only say about the rest of the world here. Most of the stuff goes outside Buffalo and the rest of the world. 67% of that mail that comes in, our local collections throughout this whole area, 67% goes back into this area of letter mail. 67%. That 67% will be going to Rochester, and then come back. Now, I just want to make a comment. I wasn't going to say anything about the jobs, but because this is about service. That's more important than the jobs. But a lot of postal workers are concerned about their jobs. So I have to make a statement about the jobs. The statement that was made by the plant manager, there'll be no layoffs. Give me a break. There's a no layoff clause in the contract. Talk about disingenuous statements. And throughout this presentation, there's one after another. But let me just give you an analogy. If you look at page 2, postal employees, where it says the number, I heard 31 here tonight, but this report says 18. A negative 18 lost positions or employees in Buffalo, or not in Buffalo, lost positions. This report is entitled, This Initiative. This initiative is Buffalo and Rochester together. That's the initiative. So when it says a net of 18 jobs, a loss of 18 jobs in the initiative, that's Buffalo, Rochester total. So just follow the fuzzy math here. A loss of 18 jobs in Buffalo, Rochester is a totality, correct? Let's say you lose 118 jobs in Buffalo, but you gain 100 jobs in Rochester. The net is 18 jobs for the whole thing. Nowhere on the report does it say 18 jobs will be lost in Buffalo. It's the whole package. So again, the language is terrible. And in closing, I just want to say one thing. None of these people up here, and we identified two, the plant manager Ron and Mark. I don't know who this gentleman is here with a scowl on his face that's been standing there. But none of these people own the Postal Service. Postmaster General DeJoy is not one of his businesses, his multi-million-dollar businesses. The Postal Service is a service that is owned by the public. And statutes guarantee that everyone receives universal, that's the word, universal service. And that regardless of your socioeconomic status in life, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of where you live in downtown Buffalo or you live in Corfu, New York, you're all entitled to universal service. And it's not up to a Postmaster General or people in Washington to make changes that's going to slow down your service. You deserve it, and it's your right. It's not their business.
Good job, Frank. My name is David J. Groskoff Jr. I'm the president of the National Association of Letter Carriers. Buffalo, Western New York. I represent over 2,000 active and retired letter carriers. I'm here tonight to support primarily the public in Western New York, the APWU Buffalo, New York local, and the National Postal Mail Handlers Union Local 309. My message tonight is everyone in this room, thank you for allowing me to address a matter of utmost importance that directly impacts the heart and soul of our communities in Western New York. Today I stand before you compelled to shed light on a concerning plan that threatens the very fabric of the Postal Service in Western New York. We find ourselves at a crossroads where the proposed consolidation of mails services from Buffalo, New York to Rochester, New York threatens the timely delivery of mail, regardless of what the talking heads up front said. It disheartens me to know that these changes are being implemented without proper negotiations and review handbooks, as the rules, if they were arbitrary, neglecting the very essence of fairness. The repercussions of these decisions are alarming. Mail delays of 1 day with a spectrum of 2-day delay looming over all of our heads here in Western New York, maybe even longer. This is not just about packages and letters arriving late. It's about the distribution and the disruption of all of our lives, missed opportunities, and the erosion of trust in the service that has been a lifeline for more than 230 years in Western New York. Moreover, this decision will lead to a cut in hours for local offices and is not a reduction in only labor hours, but a slashing of the budgets that will inevitably lead to job losses for management. I'm not super concerned about that. Mail handlers and some other folks, right? Sorry. Our communities are already facing economic challenges and will withstand the worst of this as their post offices are starved of resources, leading to closures. It is disheartening to realize that the people making these decisions seem to disregard the very people that they serve. It appears as if Buffalo is an afterthought, not in my mind. A mere pawn in a game of a chessboard with the decisions being made in district corporate offices. We are not just statistics. We are a vibrant community with families, businesses, and dreams that deserve to be considered. That calls to the point out that the decision of the Postmaster General have already given the authority to others not vested in this community. It raises concerns about our autonomy and our ability to address our local needs. Are we to surrender the fate of the Postal Service to a distant entity that may not fully comprehend its unique challenges that we face here in Western New York? This initial review by the United States Postal Service leaves many specific questions unanswered. I know my sister union, the APWU Buffalo, New York Local, has been diligent in asking for many of these answers to be provided to the public to no avail. We stand united and demand transparency, fairness, and a reconsideration of these ill-advised plans. I am for all of you to join hands to fight to preserve the integrity of our Postal Service in Western New York. Our communities deserve better than to be pawns in a game on a corporate chessboard. Let our voices be heard loud and clear as we fight for fairness and just resolution that must consider the impact for the people of Western New York. These people of Western New York are stating loud and clear, tell Postmaster General his plan to move Buffalo's processing and distribution center is dead on arrival in Western New York. Take the Buffalo P&DC off this list, and I'm not talking about now, I'm talking about permanently. And I got one more thing to say to the Postmaster General while you're taping this. For those of you that don't know, the President of the United States cannot get rid of the Postmaster General. Only the USPS Board of Governors can. President Biden has just filled the vacant 2 seats on that board. As far as branch 3 of the NELC, Western New York, is concerned, we will do everything possible, humanly possible, to make sure Louis DeJoy loses his job. I'd like to thank the public that came out tonight, all my brothers and sisters in every union, and the public officials at every level that stood in the support of stopping the detrimental plan for Western New York. Thank you for your time.
All right, better? Okay. Okay, hard to polish speech like that, but I have a question for you. Buffalo is the second largest city in the state, it's larger than Rochester, it has a more robust airport than Rochester does, and it's more located to the Midwest and points west than Rochester is, which is more in the middle of the state. Why did Rochester win out? Is the PNDC. Nowhere do I see this on any of the literature that you produced. What was the decision behind making Rochester the headquarters? Can you answer that for me, please? But it was questions and comments. I have a question. Why did Rochester win out over Buffalo?
Well, as I said when I first started this, I asked those same questions Western New York departs out of Rochester, and the transportation currently all departs out of Rochester. So that's
Well, we should depart out of Buffalo. We have an airport. There's Buffalo Airport. There's Niagara Falls.
no, and I do understand that.
Yeah,
However,
I don't understand it. It's like backwards. And they say there's an increased transportation efficiency from this plan. I don't see any efficiency in going here to come back here. I mean, it just makes no sense. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the outdoor.
Thank you for your comment.
Hey, good evening. My name is Zach Robson. I grew up a stone's throw from the post office on William Street on the east side of Buffalo, and today I'm proud to call myself a letter carrier for the United States Postal Service. I come up here to vent my frustration. I'm a little bit insulted and offended, and I will share why I am. Rhonda, thank you for introducing yourself. However, I'd like to say that there's, depending on who's standing here, anywhere from 7 to 9 people on your side of the table, so to speak, representing the Postal Service in this, and we only had 2 of you introduce yourselves. I'm insulted and offended by that. Furthermore, I'd like to say that I'm insulted and offended by a couple other things. Rhonda, you mentioned that you just got this presentation a couple days ago and reviewed it, and now you're sharing it with us. But I should point out that this has been read, and I can show it to you. This has been posted on the Postal Service's website since January 30th, and you read it verbatim, with a few caveats. And that also insults and offends me. For example, you said that some things may not change. Some things may move around. Let's go back. You said the ongoing review was initiated to evaluate what role the facility might take in the redesign of postal network. This may not happen. But the report that you read, except for a few operative words, says will take in the redesign. So basically, the report that you gave to us that you said you just got 2 or 3 days ago, again, I'm insulted and offended that they only gave it to you 2 days ago when the public has had this access since January 30th, almost word for word. Also, in the report, there's a couple things that I have a problem with. First, you mentioned East Side has the NGDVs and the BEVs, and there's not going to be a whole lot of realignment. You even have slides that says there's not going to be a whole lot of realignment, okay? So in the East Side facility right now, there's about 60 to 80 routes, right? So why would we need 125 BEVs for a station that only has 80 routes to begin with? The only thing I can think of is that we're going to be consolidating a lot more network into that building, which the slides say we're not going to. Furthermore, I'm also insulted by the fact that you're saying we're going to spend all this money on infrastructure, dock changes, and new lights and new things. Those are things that have to be done anyway, guys. That's not something new. Give my time. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jeff. Retired postal worker. I'm not a real smart guy, but I keep making the same trip over and over again. I mail myself a letter, and rather than put it in my mailbox, I drive it to Rochester. Then I bring it back and put it in my mailbox. And I have yet to figure out how you can save on, I don't know, every time I'm using gas. I don't understand it. It's costing me. Frank gave the numbers for this area, what's generated. How many extra trips to Rochester from the contractors are going to get? Because extra trips cost a lot more than the regular one. Of course, you know, I'd like to see the study on this. I've searched the internet, haven't found it. I looked around the room, looked for a Postmaster General, but I heard he's at Mar-a-Lago.
I'm here today as first of all, a former postal worker.
and a member of the union. So I'm here because I'm concerned, but the $17 million that was mentioned, and I hope this goes back to DC. I recognize that local is not making this decision, so make sure they get this. Seems like the 17 million or however much in improvements is a bribe, not an improvement, because bathrooms should be updated, LED lights should be there, cafeterias should be, these are things that you don't have to give to the workers as some type of, we're gonna move your work, but we're gonna give you LED lights. All of the numbers, and much has been said, so I'll say this real quick because, and I want to thank you, Rhonda, for continuing to say this. The numbers were from October. Why from October? Why just one set of numbers that all of a sudden is sending a community into chaos? And the last time I seen chaos like this, it was on a ship called the Titanic. And what happened, one of the things that happened with the Titanic is that they were not paying attention to the conditions that were in front of them. And what was reported is that they started to move the ship too quick for the conditions that were in front of them. I say go back to Washington and let them know they're moving this ship too quick for the conditions that are in front of them. And I know my time is up, so you will call me, but on the Titanic, when things started going down, they really didn't improve the Titanic. They made a lot of promises to the people who got on the Titanic that it was safe. Same like I hear about, don't worry, your jobs are safe. But when the Titanic started going down, all they did was reshuffle the deck. And what we just heard here tonight was just a reshuffling of the deck.
My name is Hector Martinez, Williams Post Office. I apologize for my accent. My English is not very good looking. It is my second language, so I will speak for that those silent people that cannot speak. It is hard when you're not getting your letters, like Christmas 2022 of hello. Christmas was on Sunday. People will get their package on that Saturday, right? That's Christmas 2022. Christmas 2023 came a few months ago. Christmas was on Monday. People came on Friday. They wouldn't get their package till Tuesday. That's 4 days delay. Our biggest strength, people think like it's that we charge less for what we do. No, our biggest strength is like we serve 100% of the American population. We don't serve 20% of some customer that asks for a package somewhere. We serve 100%. Everyone in the U.S. Back in 1998 when I was in basic training, sometimes the only thing that